Every Monday on the show, Jerry Bonkowski drops by from Essentially Sports. He's been a long-time NASCAR reporter. Get some thoughts with him on Tyler Reddick doing something that's never been done before in the history of NASCAR. He's won 3 straight races to start the season. And he didn't just win any old race. He won COTA, the street race, first street race of the year, where Shane Van Gisbergen was a huge favorite to win. So we'll have that conversation coming up a little later on in the show with our friend Jerry Bonkowski. Also, Bill Bender drops by the show. We'll talk with him in 10 minutes about the Combine going on out in Indianapolis, but also about college basketball, which is right now what he is knee-deep in, obviously with bracketology. Is UConn a 1 seed now after what they did against St. John's last week? What happens to Michigan? Big loss for them with LJ Kayson being lost for the season because of a torn ACL. A lot to get to from college basketball. The Chad Baker-Mazara story is obviously top of mind as well. We'll get into that with Bill Bender and a whole bunch more. We start things out, as we always do on this Monday edition of the show, with the big story. And the big story yesterday and today is the NBA for me. As we head into this stretch run, and it starts to become clearer who the contenders and the pretenders are. In the East, you have the Knicks, who beat the Spurs yesterday. You have the Celtics. You have the Pistons. Pistons have beaten the Knicks every time they've played them this year and beaten them handily. Out in the West, you obviously have the Thunder, the defending world champions. You've got the Spurs nipping at their heels after their 11-game winning streak was snapped yesterday. You have the Denver Nuggets, who are obviously going to be a factor when all is said and done. Saw them against the T-Wolves yesterday. But to me, what this NBA season, what I'm starting to feel like, is the NBA needs Victor Wembanyama in these NBA finals. As nice a story as Oklahoma City was last year, and the build of this team, and what Sam Presti has done, and how they've put this organization together, while all that's great, I don't think the world is clamoring for another NBA final with the Oklahoma City Thunder. But you give me Wemby, the Martian, the alien, as they call him. You give me Victor Wembanyama in the NBA Finals against anybody in the East. Anybody but Detroit, actually. Give me him against the Celtics. Give me him against the Knicks. I don't think the Pistons are ready for prime time yet. I think they're going to get dismantled by whoever comes out of the West. Whether that's the Nuggets, whether that's the Thunder, whether that's the Spurs. We've seen Jokic and the Nuggets win an NBA championship. And while it would be amazing to see Jokic win a second title to pair with all the MVPs, to me, the story of this NBA season comes down to whether or not we get Victor Wembanyama in the NBA Finals for the first time. And I say for the first time because he's going to make multiple trips to the NBA Finals. This isn't just, a flash in the pan thing here for the San Antonio Spurs. This thing is built to last, much like the Thunder are built to last. The Nuggets, not as much. Jokic is going to continue getting on in years. Jamal Murray is healthy sometimes, and when he is, you see how dynamic of a star he can be in this league. But to me, the Wemby story, with the way he has pushed this team in San Antonio and sort of taken the lead and that leadership role. And his numbers aren't as gaudy as a Luka or an SGA or a Nikola Jokic, but just watch his impact on an NBA game on a night-in, night-out basis. Watch what Victor Wembanyama, even in games they lose, watch his impact on a game. The ability to change shots. Guys go into the paint, see him, and all of a sudden they're kicking it out in instances where they would typically try to shoot over any normal-sized center. But Wemby, when he extends his arm out, he's like 9 feet tall. It's crazy. You need Victor Wembanyama. You want Victor Wembanyama in these NBA Finals, no matter who it's against coming out of the East. Okay, maybe not Detroit. Did I say that already? I think I did. Big story number 2. Jerry Jones. There he is, in all his splendor. Looks like a human version of Yoda at this stage, like late stage Yoda. Love Jerry Jones. Always good for an interesting conversation around the NFL. You got the combine going on. There's a lot of NFL news that we'll get to later in the show. Salary cap maneuvering, Tua being released. But I want to talk about Jerry Jones for a second because he came out at the combine and speaking to the media, talked about wanting to win multiple Super Bowls. And then he got questioned some more on and explained he'd walk from Indianapolis to Dallas if it meant he could win a Super Bowl. Jerry, don't do that. We need to keep you around a couple more years. You make for interesting conversation. The problem with Jerry, and I know this has been stated over and over again, but it needs to be mentioned at the top of this conversation about Jerry Jones. The problem with Jerry Jones is Jerry Jones. Jerry's unwillingness to fire the general manager, who also happens to have the same name, Jerry Jones. That's continuing to be the problem. And this refusal, this inability to get past that block, that wall, if you will, of what is holding back the Dallas Cowboys will be what continues to hold back the Dallas Cowboys. We were just talking about the Knicks a couple of minutes ago in the big story in the context of the Spurs and the best teams in basketball. You know when the Knicks started to turn around as an organization? When James Dolan took a step back and took himself out of the operations of the team. When he hired a good head coach, a competent general manager. Tom Thibodeau came in, did some great things. Now they've passed it on to Mike Brown. Whether or not that's the right decision or not remains to be seen. But in terms of player personnel and handing that stuff over to the basketball experts, there's something to think about here when it comes to the Cowboys, and it's this. We are now 30 years removed from the last Cowboys Super Bowl. That is a generation. That's Pittsburgh Pirates sort of bad. That's not sniffing a Super Bowl for the last 30 years in Dallas. There are kids growing up who are now in their, mid-30s that know nothing except failings by the Dallas Cowboys after all these years. And the fact that there still isn't somebody, anybody, that can get through to Jerry Jones and convince him to take a step back from the player personnel role, from that GM role, is what continues to hold this organization back and will continue to hold it back until Jerry does step away or unfortunately passes away. We're coming back. Welcome back to the show. Let's talk some college hoops and a little bit of college football because he does it all. The great Bill Bender is here, ladies and gentlemen. Check out his bracketology over at the Sporting News. Mr. Bender, let's talk about Chad Baker-Mazara. He is the 26-year-old that a lot of people in the college basketball world are talking about today because he walked off the court like his knee was bothering him in a game against Nebraska. Then he came back out on the court. He was seen sitting with the fans nearby the bench, but not on the bench. Then it's announced yesterday he's not going to play for the team again this season, effectively ending his college career at the end of 26. For people who don't know a lot about Chad Baker-Mazara, fill us in on why this story is getting so much attention.
Key player for USC, right? And they've kind of hit the wall a little bit in Big Ten play. They're probably off the bubble right now, so that for Coach Musselman, that doesn't certainly help. Talented scorer, talented player, but another sign of the times of what we're living in college basketball and college football, for that matter, where player movement isn't exclusive to the end of the game, I suppose.
So, Bill, that leads into my question, right? Because if you go back and look at the graduating class that Chad Baker-Mazara was a part of, I'm going to read you a couple of these names. You just let me know if they sound familiar. Cade Cunningham, the guy who may win NBA MVP in his third season in the league this year. Jalen Green, who's been a staple down south for the Rockets for years. Evan Mobley, who's been on multiple competitive Cavaliers teams. Jonathan Kuminga, who just requested a trade from the team that originally drafted him and is now on his second team in the NBA. Which leads me, Bill, to this. Chad Baker-Mazara, obviously, is a guy who has been around college athletics athletics for a very long time. Throughout the course of this season, you and I have talked about professional basketball players going back to college basketball, leaving the NBA G League, going back to try and play in college basketball until the courts get involved. Truly, how far away are we from some player that has already left a college football team, some 26, 27-year-old man, going back and trying to play again in the SEC?
I mean, it'll happen eventually. Maybe. I think the Bediako ruling slowed that down a little bit, though we're not completely finished with that. There's been, whether it's Aguilar or Chambliss, Chandler Morris, that's the one I couldn't think of, these injunctions and hearings for 6th and 7th year players. I mean, at the root of it, though, Chad Baker-Mazara is a talented basketball player. Scored 20 or more points in 11 games this year. I remember watching him earlier this season against Michigan. He can score. He can play a little bit. But, again, sign of the times. I mean, his college basketball career is near an end anyway. And for USC, it just hasn't been a good finish to the season. I know they got a couple chances here in the final week of Big Ten play.
Give me a thought on St. John's last week. I was shocked to see them get throttled by UConn the way they were. We thought this was going to be a big game. It's on Peacock. Oh, my God. And then UConn just runs roughshod all over them. St. John's, as Sam would like to say, throwing up all over themselves. So
they didn't make a field goal for the last 17 minutes of the game,
as Sam has been wont to remind me. So give me your thoughts. Is it just a one-off sort of thing here for St. John's? Does this, in your mind, I know you already kind of had UConn on that one line. Does this solidify them on that one line? Give me your thoughts coming out of that game.
I mean, bad 17 minutes, obviously, but they may do it again in the Big East tournament. Have a round 3. They've obviously split 2 meetings. I think St. John's is pretty locked into that 5, bounce back with the big win against Villanova. UConn's interesting. We'll be filing our bracketology today at Sporting News like we do every Monday, and it's a tough call between them and Florida.
Do you have them as a 1 right now?
I do, but It's tenuous because Florida's coming. Florida's playing really good basketball right now. I know that 8-2 record for UConn against Quad 1 might hold up, but I mean, who would you guys put on the 1 line right now? I have UConn slightly over Florida, but if Florida wins the SEC tournament, they'll be a 1 seed.
Sam?
Yeah, it's tough, and it leads into my question, Bill, which I think I already know your answer to. Is there any way we get 2 Big 12 teams as 1 seeds?
Probably not now. I mean, I think Arizona's looking pretty good for that after the blowout victory they had over the weekend. And then you get into Houston and Iowa State. Iowa State was number 1 in the bracket preview. You could argue they're number 3 right now. Houston coming back from their losses. They'll probably be on that number 2 line. And then the Big Ten crowd behind Michigan are going to be schools that are all over the number 2 and number 3 line. So we got a long way to go.
You mentioned Michigan. They lose Kason, and look, part of the beauty of this Michigan team is their depth. We talk about them, basically having 8 or 9 starters that they can trot out there. I mean, is it an overreaction to say the Kason loss is a big loss?
It's a loss. It's a big loss, but they have depth, right? So it's going to, I think where it puts more pressure on Michigan is Elliot Cadeau, who we wrote about last week and did a big profile on him. He will have to play. There'll be a little more pressure on him not to turn the ball over. They had some creative lineups with Kason and Elliott at the same time. It's an unfortunate injury, the way that it happened. You saw the play that he made, and LJ had been playing so well. But it's probably going to mean that they slide Damari Burnett over to the point a little bit. Maybe Axel Lindenberg will play some more guard. Still a really good Michigan team, though, even if they lose one of those contributors.
To go back to your question on who I'd put on the 1 line, you're telling me you put Florida, if Florida and UConn both win their conference tournaments, you still put Florida above UConn?
It'll be close. I mean, because of that the quality of play in the SEC, depending on who they have to go through. And they are the defending champion, and they are playing extremely well. If UConn played Florida on a neutral court tomorrow, Florida might be favored. I think they might. The way that they're playing right now. So it is a coin flip, and this is that thing, Jason. We've got 5 1 seeds right now because I think all 5 of those teams, Duke, Arizona, Michigan, UConn, Florida, are all worthy of that 1 line right now.
We got 30 seconds. Go ahead, Sam.
Bill, huge result in the ACC over the weekend between Duke and UVA. They blew out the Cavaliers. I mean, it's as simple as that. What did you learn the most about this Duke team from that game?
Oh, they had no hangover from Michigan. They won their last two games by over 30 points per game, and Boozer is a double-double machine. They're going to be tough out no matter who they play, and heading into that North Carolina game this week.
Bruce Pearl took a dump on Miami. We're going to talk about that. And by Miami, I mean Miami of Ohio. I know, if you're eating your Wheaties this morning, I'm sorry. I just probably ruined it for you. We'll get to that with Bill Bender coming up. And I got to throw in a college football question because we got the combine going on. Bill Bender knows all these college football players like the back of his hand, so we'll ask him something about one player in particular as we continue on Sports Wrap. Don't go anywhere. The one and only Bill Bender joins us from the Sporting News every Monday here on Sports Wrap to talk college basketball. I'm going to throw in a college football question in here in this segment as well because he joins us every Monday to talk college football too during the college football season. So, Bruce Pearl, never shy on opinions. As I said before the break, he dumped one on Miami, saying they have to win out to make the tournament in his mind. They got to stay undefeated. Where is this animus coming from? You know, he's got a son who's coaching a team that's on the bubble. People want to talk about that. Or is this Bruce Pearl just trying to get us all talking about Bruce Pearl?
Maybe a little, but also his son's team is 15-14 and probably on that first four out or next four out or, you know, at some point. So which one would you rather see? The team that went 29-0.
It's easy.
They escaped Friday night at Western Michigan. This happens at that point in an undefeated season where you're going to get everybody's best shot. I suppose they might get Ohio's best shot on Friday at the Convo. But yeah, I'm taking Miami. I don't know that the committee will, but you know, it's so funny how they would go from potential like 7 or 8 seed out of the tournament.
That's crazy.
St. Louis drops 2 lines for losing a game. Gonzaga still drops a line or 2 just for losing a game. So I don't agree with Bruce on this one. I would still take Miami over a 14-loss team in a conference just for playing in the conference and being mediocre.
Would you still take Miami of Ohio if they lose to Toledo at home or if they lose to your beloved Ohio Bobcats before the regular season ends, Bill? Do you think that this is a team that has to at least make it to the conference tournament undefeated to get in, to get one of those at-large bids?
I mean, maybe, but they're still 30-1 at that point, right?
It's like crazy talk.
32-2, like what? And we're going to send you to the NIT?
Yeah.
You're just telling the MAC at that point you will not get 2 bids. They got 2 bids my freshman year of college. Miami of Ohio and Kent both went, and I believe both won a game. You know, Miami ends up going to the Sweet 16. Kent had some really good teams, and that's where I would grade this Miami team. They're a really good basketball team, independent of the strength of the Mid-American Conference. So I think it would be a travesty, although easy to foresee travesty, if they're left out of the tournament.
But you know what the sad part is? As I sit here, I could see it happening. I mean, we've seen far more worthy teams, forget wins, losses. We've seen far more worthy teams left out of this tournament by not necessarily this particular committee, but by the committee in general. You know, and the outrage will come from it, and then everybody will say we need to go to 128 teams and all of this madness. I mean, we've seen it before, Bill.
Yeah, and the solution isn't to add more teams. The solution is to, you know, there was not always the Ken Pom metric or the net metrics that I think we rely. They're very useful. I use them every week. I know their importance, but they don't have to be the end-all, be-all for every tournament bracket bubble decision. And I think Miami, just common sense would have to apply here of what you're watching. Now, if they go in the tournament as a 7 or 8 seed and get just absolutely destroyed, you know, there's almost more pressure on them than any of those 1 seeds we mentioned.
What do you think the chances, Bill, that the committee lets Miami into the tournament but says you have to play an extra game. You have to play in that Tuesday 11 or 11 first 4 game.
Yeah.
Do you think that's on the table for Miami?
Possibly, or one of it. But I think that spot's generally reserved for two. One of those games will be two huge brands. Like, I've got Ohio State off the bubble right now, but you could see like a TCU Missouri type matchup, something like that. That will be one of them. And then the other one would be something like New Mexico and Miami at that point. And that's kind of how they handle those games traditionally. But I would still put them in. Just put them in the tournament at that point. Play them as an 11. Give them a tough matchup. Do whatever you need to do. But whether this is Wichita State or Indiana State over the years, they always do this to the mid-major conferences. You're just used to the treatment.
Can I ask you a college football question? And I think we talked about Diego Pavia at some point during the college football season with you.
You think?
Yeah, I'm sure we did. But, we've watched this guy. We all kind of know the shtick, what he is. He's being guided by Johnny Manziel, being mentored by Johnny Manziel, as he talked about in his press conference at the Combine. He worked out, and we saw all the things that you'd see. Take all the extraneous stuff and put it aside, and I know that's difficult to do. From a pure playing standpoint, could he play in the NFL? Do you think he could succeed in the NFL if he gets an opportunity?
I think a couple things with Diego. If he does, he's going to be one of the more intriguing preseason players this year because people are rooting for him to fail. Believe it or not, I think he has a keen sense of self-awareness and who he is. Like, you watch him, you'd be like, yeah, this is who he is. It's not for everyone. He clearly knows it's not for everyone. But I thought he threw the ball reasonably well for who he is at the Combine. And what I mean by that is he's not going to throw an 80-yard bomb, or any of that. And he's not going to wow with that. But I thought he was mostly on time. Not running the 40, maybe a little mistake in the interview process. Like I said, if you're going to take your advice from Johnny Manziel, it's probably important to note that Johnny Manziel played exactly 2 years in the NFL. And I forgot how long he had played. I had to look it up yesterday. How long did Johnny play? Because I had forgotten how long he had played, honestly. So I don't know if that's the path you want to take.
Bill, there was a big hoo-ha made about this hand size, or I'm sorry, not hand size, arm length.
This is getting weird.
At the scouting combine this year. How much do you think the physical attributes, the measurables, that's the word I was looking for, could actually impact a player's draft stock, be it a defensive end who's got short arms or a wide receiver who's got small hands?
Yeah, I mean, in Ruben Bain and Cassius Howe's case, I'm not sure it's going to matter. I mean, if you can play, you can play. I think the game's changed a little bit with how much we pass, that if you're going to get your pass rushing opportunities, go get them. I heard Ruben Bain being compared to Melvin Ingram. Thought that was a decent one. If you're getting that, if you're getting a Brandon Graham type player, right. I mean, that's great. I mean, he'll have a great career at that point. Cassius Howe, same deal, had a great. The one measurable that I'm starting to pay more attention to is that 10-yard split. Because, if you think about it, that's how you have to be able to explode for 10 yards. Where you go from there on the 40, that's for running backs and receivers. But, with linemen and linebackers, you really watch that 10-yard split.
Bill Bender does a great job on college basketball and during college football season, joins us as well. He is a man of all seasons. I always appreciate you, my friend. Have a great week. We'll do it again next week.
Hey, sounds good, guys. Thanks so much.
Jerry Bonkowski in 10 minutes to talk NASCAR from EssentiallySports.com after Tyler Reddick wins a third straight race to start the season. We'll get into that. Amazing. Never been done before. 3 straight wins to start the season. Sammy Arnell, let's talk some NFL. Combine going on, moves being made around the league. What do you think? If you had to guess, do you think Pavia? You think Pavia sticks with a team? We were just talking about with our friend Bill Bender. You think you don't think Pavia winds up sticking with a team?
Like, it depends on where he gets drafted. If he gets drafted, if he signs as a UDFA, then yes, he will stick with the team because he's so cheap. Someone will keep him around as a third emergency quarterback, and they'll stash him on a practice squad.
I'm not
No
even
one will care
thinking.
about him.
I'm not thinking practice squad. I'm asking, do you think he could be a backup
No,
somewhere next year?
no, certainly not. Certainly not. I think his ceiling, like even if he gets drafted if he gets drafted later than round 4, then his ceiling is practice squad for the entire season. Um, I don't think there's a world where he gets drafted in round 4 or earlier, but this being such a thin quarterback class, it does bring that a little bit into question. And when you're talking about a round 2, round 3, round 4 pick, if somehow, some way, some team wastes one of those on him, then yeah, he'll have to stay on the roster because from a business standpoint, you can't risk letting that walk out the door and not getting anything in return. You can do that for a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick.
Yeah, that's fair.
I have no hopes for his professional career. I would be surprised if anyone does, honestly.
Well, he's certainly talking a good game, so we'll see what that translates to when we get to the preseason, and he will be an interesting watch in the preseason for sure. Jerry Jones met with the media out at the Combine, as everybody else is, and Jerry says he wants to win Super Bowls. You got to start with one, Jerry. I haven't won one in like 30 years, so you got to start with one first. The problem, and I keep saying this, and I mentioned it in the big story, I'm curious to get your thoughts on it, although I have a feeling I know what your thoughts are going to be. All the same, the problem with Jerry is he doesn't want to fire Jerry as the general manager. And as long as he's not willing to do that, I don't see any impetus for change when it comes to Dallas. I hope there is. I like Dak Prescott. I'd like to see Dak Prescott win something. But as long as Jerry doesn't fire Jerry, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything that... No, I don't even need to say that. The game of football has passed the Dallas Cowboys organization by, and like we're approaching it's about to lap them territory. Look at the business side of the Dallas Cowboys right now. You've got $60 million tied up in Dak Prescott per year, $30 million per year tied up in CeeDee Lamb, and you're about to franchise tag George Pickens. That's going to pay him another $28 million. Bottom line is you've got $120 million locked up in 3 players this season. That's half your cap, Jerry Jones. That's not how any modern day NFL team operates, let alone a competitive one. It's safe to say the National Football League has passed the Dallas Cowboys by at this point in time. And Jason, quite frankly, they're very close to lapping them.
Tua Tagovailoa is going to be released by the Miami Dolphins come June 1st, it looks like. And let the speculation begin on where he could potentially wind up next season. And they're doing this because of the dead cap space and all that stuff. I was saying this to Sam during the break. I want to hear people talking about, every year we have these conversations about, will they cut this player? Will this player get released? And I always hear somebody say, oh, but the dead cap space. And I'm always like, if a team wants to get rid of a guy bad enough, they're going to get rid of a guy despite what the cap implications may wind up being. They want so badly to get rid of Tua, they don't care. They're going to swallow the money anyway. That being said, what are the Dolphins going to do at quarterback, given where they are in the draft? Are they just going to suck as badly as they can next year to try and get somebody in that next draft class? Does that mean Quinn Ewers is going to be the starter this year? Does that mean, maybe somebody like a Kirk Cousins for a year? I know we all think Kirk Cousins is going to Minnesota, but if he doesn't, maybe that's a spot. What do you think, Sam?
Kyler Murray and Geno Smith are the early names that have been connected with the job. And that would be fine. Listen, I think your point is a very, very true one about teams being, less hesitant in certain situations to take on these copious amounts of dead cap. And I think this is the first sign into what next season is going to look like for not only the Miami Dolphins, but for a lot of the league. You look at this draft class, you already compare it to the next draft class, and it's way more quarterback deep and quarterback friendly next year. This year is going to turn into a tank off. There are going to be at least 2 between the Dolphins and the Jets that we know of right now, Jason. But I wouldn't be surprised if another 2, 3 teams get in the mix. And we're looking at 4 or 5 teams that are competing for the worst record in the league to try and draft the best possible quarterback in next year's draft. This is just the very first step in it, taking on all the dead money, giving yourself no excuses to have a good player on your roster.
I wonder if it's going to be the NBA version, if it's going to be like what we see in the NBA this year. If it just happens to be that, the NBA this year, where you've got all these teams vying for all this talent atop the draft, and if we're going to see the same thing in the NFL next year. Chiefs letting go of Jawan Taylor, cutting him to save $20 million in cap space as they continue to massage that cap, which, by the way, is going up, in case you missed that news this weekend. The cap is going up.
Going up, but less than a lot of capologists hoped. And the stuff that I've seen, it seems like a bit of a confusion as to why the number in the raise was so small compared to the last 2 years. Very curious about all that. But yeah, the Chiefs are, they're trying to tread water right now. They're trying to do as good of a job as they can of it.
And Travis Kelce, we still don't know what's going to happen with him other than the fact that he's going to get married. We have no idea where he'll be playing football, if he'll be playing football at all next season. We're coming back. Jerry Bonkowski next. Welcome back to the show. I'd like to say we're saving the best for last today, because it really does feel that way. I almost moved up this segment in the show just because what Tyler Reddick is doing is out of this world, Jerry Bonkowski. Essentially Sports. You can check out Jerry's work there on NASCAR. Well, I'll give you credit. You came on this show last Monday and said that, oh, look at that belly laugh. There it is. You said Shane Van Gisbergen wouldn't win this race. He basically went off at even money on Sunday to win this race, which is rare in NASCAR. But you also, I don't know if anybody in their right mind thought that Tyler Reddick would be the guy to win, let alone win his 3rd race to start the season. Jerry, this is uncharted territory, what we're seeing right now with Tyler Reddick.
Well, the biggest thing I think, Jason, about Tyler Reddick is he's won on 3 entirely different different racetracks. He's won the super speedway, he's won at a high-speed speedway, and then he's also won the road course. So I'm really curious where he goes from here. I mean, he's got the target on his back from everybody. I mean, I don't think there were very many people that would said that he would have won on a road course, but he's really not a bad road course driver to begin with. So, yes, I was right about Shane Van Gisbergen, but he came in second, so I'll give you that. But I like what I'm seeing from Reddick. I mean, I think that he could continue this streak for another 2-3 races. I think if he keeps the momentum going, I mean, he's got a great team behind him. Michael Jordan is throwing all kinds of money at the team. He's just doing everything he needs to do.
Then help me understand a couple of things that I want to spin off of this conversation on now. And I'm going to be a bit of a Debbie Downer on a couple of things here. Tyler Reddick has won the first 3 races of this season, yet I look at the odds for the NASCAR Cup Series championship. Kyle Larson's ahead of him. Denny Hamlin's ahead of him. William Byron's ahead of him. Ryan Blaney's ahead of him. Christopher Bell's ahead of him. Chase Elliott's ahead of him. Why is he still not getting the love? Not that I'm crazy about NASCAR betting. I don't think I've ever wagered $1 on NASCAR. But why is it that he's still not getting the love when we look at the entire season and projecting where this thing ends at the end of the year?
Well, I think it can be answered very simply. I mean, if you look back to what he did between 2022 and 2024, he had 8 wins out of the 3, in 3 seasons rather. Last year, horrible season. 2025 doesn't win a race. I think a lot of people that were very supportive of him kind of lost that support last season. And now that he's won 3 in a row, yes, fantastic, great job by him. But I think there's still a little bit of a hesitation for people to really believe that he's for real. Me, he's for real. I'm convinced of it. I think that what you're seeing here at the beginning of the season is going to be the same way you're going to see at the end of the season. He's going to start strong and he's going to finish strong. Right now, he's probably my number 1 candidate to win the championship.
Okay. So move from that to the next question, which is this. It was great when Reddick won the Daytona 500 and Michael Jordan wins a crown jewel race and everybody's going crazy. Then they win in Atlanta and it's wow again, Michael Jordan's team and Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace has been great and this is all wonderful. Now he wins this one. At what point do you start to wonder, okay, is this going to draw more people in? We've played the Michael Jordan thing as much as we can. What is the draw to bring casual, if not non-NASCAR viewers in? How much does Tyler Reddick help that? Does it start to become a thing of, we got to watch just to see if somebody can beat him? Like, where does it become that story? I'm trying to figure out where the draw is for NASCAR off of this. Because showing Michael Jordan for 5 seconds or talking to him after they win a race is nice. He's not playing basketball anymore. It's not the same thing.
Well, I think that, obviously this is Michael Jordan's and Denny Hamlin's team, and Jordan's going to get a lot of the notoriety, but he's not behind the wheel. Tyler Reddick is behind the wheel, as is Bubba Wallace. And I think that, looking forward, people, they know what Jordan can do. I think they're still suspect about what Reddick can do. And I think that, NASCAR is in a position right now, they've got to capitalize on this. They've got to capitalize on Reddick's, to 3 wins in a row. They've got to capitalize on Jordan. And I think that, people that have left NASCAR as fans over the last, 5, 10 years, 15 years, whatever it's been, I think they're going to start coming back. I think they're slowly coming back. And I think that, if Reddick can continue this run, I'm not going to say he's going to win the next 5 races, but I mean, if he can continue to have top 5s and top 10s over these next 5 races, you're going to see a big, big jump, not only in the ratings, but also in the attention to his team, 23-11, and also Michael Jordan as well. I'll admit this one thing, though, Jason. If I'm Tyler Reddick, and I don't mean this in a negative way, don't get me wrong, but if I'm Tyler Reddick, I don't want to be known as Michael Jordan's driver, Tyler Reddick. I want to be known as Tyler Reddick. You know what I'm saying? So at some point, the fans have to understand that, okay, Jordan is the money guy. He owns the, co-owns the team, but the attention has to go to Reddick because he's the one that's doing the hard work, as well as his, crew chief, Billy Scott. So I think that, you look at this, and that's where the focus has got to be. At some point, Reddick himself might say, well, it's me. It's not Michael. Michael's helping, but I'm the guy behind the wheel.
Has Bubba Wallace been the second best driver so far this season?
I'd say he's probably the 3rd or 4th best. I wouldn't put him as the 2nd best, but the point is though, I don't think he's finished any lower than 12th. I think in a race yesterday, I believe he was 11th, if I'm not mistaken. So he's been up there. He's been knocking on the door, and I think that winning begets winning. And if your teammate is winning 3 in a row, it's about time for you to win 3 in a row, or at least a couple of them in a row. So I think that you're going to see a whole lot different Bubba Wallace going forward over these next 3, 4, 5 races. And I would not be surprised to see him win 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 of those races as well.
It's amazing for Michael Jordan's team. In the last 40 seconds that I have here, as you start to look ahead at these next couple of races, who stands out to you as the person you think is most likely to challenge Tyler Reddick?
I'd say Christopher Bell is my number 1 guy. I mean, I think that he's just, he is a superstar in the waiting. I mean, he's already a star, but I think that, if he gets a couple, remember, he had 3 wins in a row last year, so he can do it just as much as Tyler Reddick can do it. So I would keep my eyes on him, and I'm keeping my eyes just in general on Toyota. Toyota's, 3 of the first 5 guys, or 3 of the first 4 guys yesterday were Toyota guys. They're really making a mark this year, and I think it's going to continue too as well.
Jerry Bonkowski does a great job, joins us every Monday on the show. Essentially Sports. Check out his NASCAR work there. Always appreciate you, my friend. Have a great week. We'll do it again in a week.
You too, man. I'll talk to you next week.
Maybe Tyler Reddick will have won again. We're coming back with odds and ends next. All right, just about time to put the wraps on this Monday edition of the show. Before we do, a couple of reminders. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, available for you on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Go and check it out. 45 minutes waiting there for you early every afternoon. The audio version of this show plays just as well as an audio podcast as it does the TV show every day. So go and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We also have mini podcasts now from the show, the best guests. We take those and put them into their own podcast. If you want to just get the meat and potatoes, so to speak, you're more than welcome to do that as well. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, you name it. It's on all of them. Go and subscribe today. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. This is the place for all things video when it comes to Sports Wrap with Jason Page. TV version of the show, Monday through Friday, available there on the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel before it's available anywhere else. You get us there first. So go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, Sports Wrap Shorts are available there. Sports Wrap Shorts, 1 to 3 minute long videos. News breaks, we're there to cover it. Devin Williams gives up a gopher ball in spring training on his first pitch of spring training. We're there to make fun of it. Why not? The Knicks beat the Spurs yesterday. Boom, we're there. We're talking about it. As the Knicks snapped the Spurs 11-game winning streak. We're there talking about it. Sports Wrap Shorts available on our YouTube channel, Sports Wrap with Jason Page. Also available on our TikTok, Sports Wrap Jason Page, and on our Instagram, the same name, easy to remember, Sports Wrap Jason Page. And now, without any further delay, on this Monday, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell. Well, Shane Lowry looked like he was poised for a PGA Tour victory. He's great in the Ryder Cup. We've seen him for years. He's got an Open Championship to his credit. And then it all went south somehow, and he winds up losing to Nico Echevarria, who picks up his third PGA Tour win. Sam Yarnell, what happened to Shane Lowry on Sunday?
The stuff nightmares are made of, Jason. It really is nightmare fuel for anyone who's ever stepped on a golf course, quite frankly. A ton of analyticians, that's definitely not the word that's used for them, but that's the word that I like to use for them, got online after this all happened and were like, this may be the biggest collapse in PGA Tour history, if not like the second biggest by some metrics at best. It's crazy. 99.9% chance to win the entire tournament, standing on the tee at 16 on Sunday, and then he goes double par to finish out the tournament. It is just, Jason, the thing that you dream of happening in the worst way possible. It is unimaginable what Shane Lowry had to have gone through this weekend, and you just feel for him. Hopefully he can bounce back, because that's the kind of thing, if you're not careful with it, that can ruin a career.
By the way, not to be forgotten in this tournament, Brooks Koepka, T9.
And an incredible comeback for him, too. He started out playing horribly, and then he roared all the way back over the weekend. It was impressive stuff out of him. I'm going to be betting on him come major season.
74 in the opening round, then he goes 66, 69, 65 on Sunday. He might have had the round of the day on Sunday. He certainly might have been tied for the round of the day with that 65. So Brooks Koepka may be finding his form. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell. The end for Jim Hiller in Los Angeles. He's done. The Kings in the midst of a slump, and Jim Hiller pays for it with his job.
Yeah, you come back from the Olympic break, you play a back-to-back, you lose both games and give up a combined 14 goals. Someone's probably gonna have to get fired. Obviously, we've talked with Dennis for months, maybe even years at this point, about Jim Hiller and how he's not potentially long for that Kings job. Hey, hopefully they'll get lucky, turn things around in the last, what do we have, 30 games left in the season, and maybe they'll be able to play their annual series with the Oilers in the first round of the playoffs, which they will most definitely lose.
Kings minus 145 right now to make the playoffs over on FanDuel.
Might bet the no. Might consider the no.
They are like right there on the line,
too. They're out of the playoffs
too.
right now, yeah, by a couple of points. I mean, the no is really worth consideration when you talk about a team that, and listen, there is a very fine line to walk here, right? And it's one that a lot of bettors, myself included, don't always love to get involved with, because there's a certain element of volatility when a team fires their coach. But hey, if you're telling me you're getting plus money on them to stay in the position that they are currently in, I might take that.
By the way, defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, plus 460 right now to make the playoffs.
They're done. They're
Kinda
done.
sad.
They're not making the playoffs. They're not.
It's kind of sad to see. They are plus 460, so may not even get a chance at the three-peat. That, if you were the NHL, you were probably hoping at least we'd get a chance at a three-peat, something to talk about, and you may not even get that. By the way, your Sabres, minus 1,500 right now to make the playoffs, so congratulations.
The Sabres will make the playoffs.
The drought is over.
Hopefully. I mean, something could still go horribly wrong, but hopefully the drought will be over. I'll say this, the NHL, they got to be happy about the Florida Panthers not making it in, solely because all they've heard for the last 2 years while they've been winning is, The only reason the Florida Panthers can win is because they can evade all these taxes and they can essentially engage in legal salary cap exploitation.
Manipulation.
So yeah, I don't know. It's a disaster.
Islanders minus 450 to make the playoffs. Where are my Rangers right now? No, not even out there. All right.
No. You don't want to know. You don't want to know.
Gonna do it for us. Wraps it up. Thank you to Bill Bender. Thank you to Jerry Bonkowski. Thanks to you, Sam Yarnell. We'll see you all back here tomorrow. Bye-bye. Hi there. I'm Jason Page. You like what you're watching? Subscribe. We've got Sports Wrap Shorts on this channel. We've got the show. We've got clips from the show. What else do you have to do? You probably follow a lot of other things that aren't half as exciting. They're not half as exciting as this show is. So what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, follow the channel, watch the content. Bye.